Alright guys, welcome to the channel. This is RTX Pinball. I am RetroTech-X. Today I want to do one last conversation about the Pinball Expo, and we need to talk about the winners and losers. A lot of new games this year, a lot of different things that have come out. I've been able to play, luckily I've been able to play a lot of these games. The only one that I hadn't played going into this Expo, well, really there's a couple, and we'll discuss that. But I want to jump into the games right away. We're going to talk about winners and losers, companies that did really well, companies that didn't have a showing like we expected, stuff like that. We're gonna really dig into it here. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna start with Dune. Dune is a game that if you have not played, you absolutely need to play it. This game is probably one of the most atmospheric, strikingly beautiful tables that I've ever played. It is one that you have to experience. It is continuously vibrating and rocking and rolling, and it just has this atmospheric music to it. I know this screenshot looks very dull when you look at it. It has all these browns, a little bit of teal. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing when you look at the actual playfield. I do like the upper right corner where it has kind of this rocky world under glass that you see in some of the games. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Whitewater, how it has a little bit of that actual world under glass kind of thing going on. I really like this table. It is one that is absolutely incredible. It is a full-on experience. So just so you know, I had no experience with Dune whatsoever. I've never seen any of the movies, never read any of the books, so I had no bias going into this table. But this is one that I was really excited for, and it absolutely blew me away. The color shifts from day to night, the worm that actually captures the ball and rises up out of the playfield, the harvester, the display in the back that is actually inside the playfield, all of those elements combine for an experience that is second to none. Everything about the cabinet screams quality. Barrels of Fun really has been knocking it out of the park. Labyrinth was what it was. Everybody, if you had nostalgia for Labyrinth, you really liked that table. Even if you didn't, it may have swung you, but the shots themselves I didn't think were near as good. Dune really went the extra mile. This table is fantastic. The cabinet itself is beautiful. The topper is very nice. It has this gold and sand grit basically inside the powder coating on the rails of this table. It is a sight to behold. Yes, I'm giving it a lot of glowing praise. Is there stuff I don't like? Sure, there's things I don't like. Some of the shots can be a little tough. You are going to get some bad bounces off these posts in this lower section right here, but there's not a lot not to like about this table. The quality is really, really good. It's clean, it's crisp. I found it to be probably the best table that I've played. It was the one I was most excited for, and not only did it meet my expectations, it actually exceeded them, which is something that I don't really see with pinball tables very often. So that was my take on Dune Pinball. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about what you thought about it. We're gonna move on to the next one. Man, I tell you what, it was a wonderful year for pinball. But next up, let's talk about Harry Potter, Jersey Jack. So Jersey Jack, as we know, is a big swinger when it comes to pinball machines in this last year. So for the show, this is the first time I guess Harry Potter was probably played by a lot of people. I was lucky enough that one of my local places, the arcade in Brighton, Michigan, here near me, they buy limited editions of every new game, basically. Definitely Stearns, definitely Jersey Jacks. They do not get Barrels of Fun, sadly. So I didn't get a chance to play Dune until more recently at Ulix in Monroe, Michigan. But I tell you what, Harry Potter, this is one I love this table, but it's still got some issues that I don't like. It's incredibly dense. It's very busy. It's a beautiful table. They're doing a ton of stuff on this table. The lighting is fantastic. Obviously, the IP is, you couldn't really pick a better IP. It appeals to people of the that watched Harry Potter throughout the years of the books. It appeals to the new generation that watched all the movies. I think Harry Potter, even to this day, is still growing in popularity in some crazy way, and its nostalgia for it is just continuing to grow. This turning staircase at the upper side here, this section here, is fantastic. Apparently, it can make as many as 13 different shots, shooting a ball off in a different direction. The Quidditch upper ramp here is really, really cool. It has some really cool shots. It's not as good as King Kong. That's the one that really had some incredible shots to it. It has like the orbit that has like that slingshot orbit that comes back out, and you really get to see that on the Pro King Kong. You don't really see it so much on the premium and limited editions because it's hidden by Kong himself. But that orbit is really cool. You have that shot where you get it from the upper left, shoot it up, and it loops around and comes down, and then sets it up for the nice crossing shot. There's a flow about King Kong that this table just does not have. The upper flipper I found to be, it seems to be almost too vertical, if you will. So shots across the playfield I didn't find to be particularly all that interesting or fun. There is a lot of good shots directly up the middle here where I found that you could really do some damage. And I was kind of surprised at how prominent the Death Eater was. I watched all these movies back in the day, and I didn't really find that the Death Eater was all that important, quite frankly. So I was a little interested in that. You know, you really don't see. I don't know. There could have been characters I think could have been much more prominent, and him not so much. But as it is, Harry Potter was a really good showing. The arcade edition, the fact that they play all the same is really awesome. I mean, obviously there's a difference between the arcade, the wizard, and the limited, the premium edition with the toppers and everything. The topper was okay. It's not that great. But I really thought that there was, it's a premium device. Just like Avatar, which is still one of my favorite tables to this day. It screams beauty and power. I mean, it's just a beautiful machine. Very pricey for what it is, and that's something that's going to be a problem, I think, for a lot of people, and I don't know what to say about that. I mean, Harry Potter is what it is. We all know what it is, and if you like Harry Potter, you're going to love this table. There's no question. I do like the Protego as a way to do a kind of a ball save there, which is really cool. I love the fact that they have the wands up in the upper right to collect the balls before they dump into the pot there. I don't know. This is a table that I really struggled with because I want to love it, but it doesn't, for as much as it should pull me in, it doesn't really. The shots didn't compel me enough to look. I mean, the IP is what it is. So, I don't know. I thought Dune was much better. I know comparison robs us of joy. So, as far as Harry Potter in and of itself, I think it's a great table. I just wish that there was a little more flow to it. It feels a little discombobulated, and then it's a little dense up at the top. It's very, very busy, and there's some other stuff we'll talk about that with too. But anyway, that was my take on Harry Potter. I think it played really, really well. That people were there all day long, every day we're playing this game. It was really hard to get up and actually play this one because people were really enjoying it. So that's good to see. Next up, we have Stern. So this is the only one that I'm going to include for Stern from this. I did not include the home edition Stern because I didn't. While it was at the show, I didn't include it in here. I probably should have. It's an okay table. Now this one, Fall of the Empire, I absolutely love. This is a John Borg design table. This one got a lot of flack for being a Star Wars IP again, but I cannot emphasize enough how incredibly fun and fast this table is. It's got some really cool elements. Notably, it's got these bumpers kind of on the bottom half of the table, which, you know, they got a bumper here and a bumper here, which can be pretty brutal at times. They don't tend to throw the ball so much into the ball save into the flipper area necessarily, but they can be pretty nasty with the outlanes. Like, you're just not getting a chance. The force save on this, though, The force save is so incredibly cool to be able to actuate that magnet and have that thing throw right up. I mean, it throws it way up into the field, almost a foot above the flippers, and then you can either nudge right or left if you really want to, and really do what you want with that force save. Really cool shots. The hyperspeed shot right up the middle. When you get that going from the left flipper repeatedly, you can first of all you can get a ton of points, but it's a fantastically smooth, fun shot to hit. I really love the color shifts in this. This is in its normal state. It's more of like a blue. It's kind of like a generally Star Wars type of blue type of hue to it. And then when it goes into these either the Vader modes or you can get into these Sarlacc pit modes, it'll turn into this red color shift, and it is so absolutely incredible. So the modes on this are really really cool. Obviously, all kinds of movie clips. It's got Insider Connected, which really helps to keep people coming back with interaction from gameplay to gameplay to gameplay, and you can compare with your friends even if they're not local, things like that. Knocking down the at is really cool, and of course, hitting the Death Star. While that shot has been knocked pretty hard for how difficult it can be, I found it pretty easy. Once I figured out that it was pretty much a 25% flipper shot from the right flipper, I had no problem getting that shot. I would settle it down on the right flipper, and bang, I would hit the Death Star. Settle it down, bang, hit the Death Star. If you're gonna try to take it all the way from the inland and do it as a continuous shot, sure, you're gonna have a lot more kickbacks. You're gonna have a lot more kinetic energy in the ball when it hits there, and it tends to reject at times. But I didn't find it to be too big of a problem. I love this table. I think Star Wars fans are gonna absolutely adore it. It is considerably cheaper than a Barrels of Fun table, whether it's Winchester or Dune, and it's also cheaper than a Jersey Jack Harry Potter, or even Avatar for that matter. So I think this one's going to sell incredibly well. Not to mention being Star Wars IP, it's timeless. So, and this really refers to the first 3, 4, 5, 6 movies pretty easily, pretty well. It doesn't really deal with the later movies all that much, and that's probably a good thing when it comes to the playability of it long term. A great table. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So that was my take on Star Wars Fall of the Empire. Next up is the P3. Now the P3, some of you guys will probably scoff at this. You do not like the P3. You don't think it's a valid pinball machine. It's certainly got its detractors. It's only good in the upper third of the playfield. Sure, Princess Bride, I know this is an older release, but it's one that I had never played. I'd never got to play a P3. I was very concerned about the flippers on this and how they would feel. I always kind of got this impression that they had this really strange metal feel to them. I didn't find that at all. I found it to be very very comforting, actually. The ball would hit the flippers, and I could do dead flips, and you could really roll it around, and you really had a good sense of control. What's nice about Princess Bride in particular is it has additional flippers at this upper location here that are part of the extended playfield, which I didn't even know halfway through the game that I had them, because the settings for the P3, first of all, I didn't know that the P3 had 3 buttons on either side. That was new to me. So it adds a lot of different variety and gameplay that I had no idea. So what I was getting to is that the settings, you can set the flippers to be combined so that you could flip up those flippers at the same time as you do the primary flippers at the bottom to the ones at the top. But you got to be careful, because if you're going to actuate that left flipper, you can actually catch a ball on the bottom side of the left flipper on the upper flipper. So what they did is they actually have these separated so that you have a separate flipper button for those upper flippers. And so once you got used to using 2 fingers, which certainly is a whole new gameplay element, it was really, really cool. The screen here is beautiful. I know the big thing is it doesn't feel like there's a lot there, but in reality, I found it to be really cool to be able to not have to look up at the DMD at all, really, to see not only my score, but what I needed to do, what I needed to shoot. The playfield is contextual, and we'll talk about it a little on Portal too. On Portal also, that the playfield knows where the ball is when it's in that bottom 2/3 of the playfield. So, which was really awesome, so that it knew whether or not to be able to pull up a ramp so that the ball could fall freely to the flippers and things like that. The modes in this were absolutely awesome, though. The Cliffs of Insanity. There was a spot when I was fighting Inigo Montoya with the sword, and it forces you to use the two fingers on your left hand to do both flippers, right and left, with only your left hand. And then, as you know in the movie, he's going to go, ha ha ha, I am not even left-handed. And then you'll have to flip over to the right hand and use two flippers on the right hand. Those types of really elements are incredible, and they add so much diversity. It really, I didn't talk about this, and I probably should have when it comes to Dune, is where you put that hand in the center and you're forced to use the one-handed shot to be able to see if you're worthy or not. Those types of little quirks that add so much value to the pinball experience, in my opinion, that I found myself absolutely loving Princess Bride for that alone. And obviously the call-outs from the movie, so good. You got the Inconceivable, you got the Farm Boy stuff, you've got... it was just so good. I think this IP, and if I had to say something about this, about the P3 in general, one thing I did think, I came back to the P3 again and again and again. Justin Wise from Wise Trailers, who was at the Pinball Expo, probably got sick of me because I was there all 3 days and I kept coming back to this P3 and I had to play it and play it and play it. It was one of the most compelling games, also easier to get to or get into actually play than, say, a Dune or a Winchester or even a Harry Potter, which were all very busy. Princess Bride was the easiest because it's older. It's been around for a while. Portal 2 was very difficult to get a play on, especially Friday and Saturday, where it was much more busy. And I also wanted to make sure that everybody got an opportunity. I had played it quite a bit on Thursday, so it was very important that everybody else got the chance to play it as well. So yeah, I left the show thinking to myself, if I had to own one pinball table of all of these, I think it would have to be a P3. I would pay the money, I would get the P3, and I would have the option for Portal, Princess Bride, Final Resistance, Heist. Right there I have 4 games. Yes, they're not cheap. Every one of those modules is about $3,000, but $3.5 to $4,000, yes. But with limited space, I could have one device and have a closet full of modules which represent new games. And I think that's a really compelling argument for me. I don't think that I ever want to have a downstairs full of pinball tables. I'm never going to be the one that wants to have an arcade of 6 pinball tables, 10 pinball tables, 30 pinball tables like some of my friends do. So I'm going to have my Atgames 4KP, the digital that the kids can play and bang around on. I'll have the micro, which is this guy over here that the kids can play and I can take places and do events with and stuff like that. And then I'll have my full-on pinball machine, maybe my P3, maybe my Black Knight Sword of Rage, maybe my Independence Day, the games that I really, really love. And I absolutely fell in love with the Transformers Home Edition from 2011 as well. I played the heck out of that game. I love it. It's what I want. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Next up, let's go to the next game. Merlin's Arcade. So this is a Turner pinball game. So Turner is kind of a newish pinball company. They've only done 2 games. They did Ninja Eclipse, which was frankly awesome. I only got to play it really a few months ago at Ulix. I love that table. It was here at the show, only they don't even have any one of their own. They had to, one of their customers allowed them to take it to the show so people could play it. And what an awesome gesture that is, because you're going to think of how many plays, that additional plays that game got on the show floor. So that was an incredibly gracious offering. Merlin's Arcade is a really cool game. I think it proves that these smaller companies that are doing pinball games do a fantastic job. I love the fact that when you drop the glass on this, it has the LEDs in the glass, and it just has this really cool... it has finesse flippers, which is kind of a gimmicky thing, and I know a lot of people don't like them. You don't have to use them, but they're there. I did find that I did use them a little bit, just because it was kind of cool to be able to do a flip pass from one side to the other, which I do on digital pinball all the time. It's quirky. It's a digital thing, and not many people care about that necessarily. But I thought this was a really good entry point for a family, and this is a table that you could put in any home, and the kids are gonna love this thing, and the family is gonna love this thing, and it's not an overly difficult game. It's got some wonderful call outs. One of the things that I was most intrigued about with Turner Pinball is if you open this thing up, David from Ulix actually showed this to me. He opened the cabinet up, lifts it up all the way, and you see the underside of this thing. It's pure white, and it's labeled so beautifully. Like, for somebody who's a noob like me, who doesn't even have a physical pinball machine, this entry point this machine seems like something that I could really understand, and it would be. It's clean, it's well labeled. They're a new company, so they're going to be very responsive. And I thought, man, they're obviously cheaper too. I think this was going for about $7,000. I was happy to see that at the show they brought 3 Merlin's arcades. They're all sold. So it didn't take. They were gone by the second day. They were all sold. Ninja Clips only had 100 cabinets. Those sold a long time ago. I'm on the waiting list for one of those because I really love that IP. That was a new IP as well. And I met the designer there, and he's an awesome guy. I loved it. But Merlin's Arcade is a really cool game. I think this is a really good entry point for a lot of people. It seems like a really quality game. The one thing I like about it is, no matter how many times I've seen this table, I've never seen it broke. I've never seen any problems with flippers. I've never seen a weak flipper. I've never seen a ball get stuck. In Ninja Eclipse or Merlin's Arcade, that has never happened. You would think that a new company would start to have some issues like that. I've never seen that with the Turner Pinball. So completely very happy with Turner Pinball and their products so far. Really excited for their third IP, which will come out hopefully soon. I'd love to get access to some of that and see what's out there. And also they had this app called Pin Access Enable, which apparently allows somebody with an app to have access to different things on the playfield. I didn't get to see any of that, and I got to talk to David about that at Ulix. I want to see more of those capabilities and see what that's really about. It looked like they could affect things, even flipper usage at times, and kind of mess with the player. So I'm really curious to see what that's all about. I'd like to know more about it, but man, I was really happy that I think Turner did a really good job. So next up, this was a French company. I said this in my show the other day. I thought this was a Korean company. It's not. It's actually a French company. This is Questal Games, I want to say is how it's pronounced. So this is Tokyo Perfect Drift. Now this game, they show it on the show floor for $4,500, which is an incredibly good price for a pinball machine, especially a new pinball machine. The lighting is really, really cool. The shots are not. The shots on this thing were not great. You have this one little loop shot, and I know this picture is not the best. It's a little grainy. There was some shots around here where you lock a ball to get the multi-ball. The shot across here had some value to it. This little flipper doesn't do a whole lot. It's really just to get these drift drop targets here. I didn't really have a lot of value with it. And I found that every time I shot this orbit around, this ball would come down and hit this slingshot and basically want to die and kill me. It wouldn't continually come down to the right flipper and make a nice clean shot. It would have this bounce off that slingshot or come down in a funky way, and the game just didn't have a lot of good flow to it. So wasn't a big fan of it. I played it a handful of times, and the guy ahead of me did the same thing I did. He had like 1 million points on his first ball, and then the next ball we jump up to like 15 million. Like once you figured it out, it was like, okay, it's just a multi-ball game, and that's pretty much it. I was starting to pluck away at modes, and I didn't even know what I was doing, but I didn't really enjoy this one. But all right, this is another one by Questal Games, called Super Hoop. Now this one is a little more intriguing. It plays a little better. It has better flow. One thing I did like about this one is it had a really cool element at the top here where there's a scoop right in the center. You hit this scoop and it would throw the ball up to the backboard where the hoop is, and there's a magnet. Grab a hold of the ball and basically dunk the ball down the hoop. That was a really cool element. The crossing shot is actually pretty well done. Obviously, you can't take the shot to this upper right or upper left ramp without this right shot here. So I dig a 3-flipper game, so that was a nice feature to me. It has a really cool scoop shot here where it loops it up and then puts it on this upper orbit or this upper return ramp to the in lane. So there was some cool elements there. This one I had much more fun with. I think this is a pretty decent game. Obviously, you're worried about reliability with a pinball machine that's only $4,500, whether or not they're using standard parts, things like that. Those are all things that I would have to research to really figure out whether or not this was for me or not. But the problem is, for $4,500, I'm thinking, okay, now I'm getting into older Sterns. I can get a Mandalorian. I could get a Venom. I could get a Sword of Rage, maybe, for that. Pro versions, mind you. And that's fine. Some of the Pro versions are actually better. I actually like the Sword of Rage Pro better than I like the Limited or the Premium. So I could get one of those for 45 to probably $5,000. I would definitely choose one of those over something like this. It's a little unproven. Who knows? Maybe they come out with a nice IP and it starts to sell. I'm sure that there has to be some French IPs that could work. That would be compelling and that would really sell a lot better. And who knows? I'm looking forward to that. I root for smaller companies like this. Just like I'm rooting for Wonderland. I talked a lot about Wonderland in my other video, so I'm not going to do it in this one. That machine has its own set of problems. I don't consider it a full-on pinball machine, so I didn't put it in this list. I think they're losing right now. Wonderland, just because we don't know what it's going to be. We don't have a fully developed working product. I mean, it kind of works. You've seen the code. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. But I think there's a lot to be proven there. And Questal games would have the same type of issues, whether or not it's functionally fixable and things like that. So, next up, Predator Pinball from Pinball Brothers. So this is another one in that Alien Predator kind of series. You had Alien, which I thought was an incredible game. It's a very wide table. It has a really cool boating atmosphere to it. I love Alien. The problem that I've always had with Alien Pinball is that every time I go to play it, something is broken on that table. It doesn't matter where it is. There's always something wrong with it. I had the same thing happen to me at the Expo where I tried to play Alien and it couldn't find a ball. People would turn it off, turn it back on. They couldn't find the ball. I ended up playing the game beside it quite a bit more, Sword of Rage, because I wanted to get Alien to work again so that I could play that. I talked to a couple people to try to get it fixed, and they couldn't do it. So back to Predator. I played this game under canopy a couple times, and I didn't dig it. It's a really wide table. It's got some really interesting shots, but I found it to be very crowded. One of the things that I really found is that these shots here, this whole side is basically jam-packed. There's a nice little orbit here, there's a scoop here, and some drop targets here, but otherwise this right flipper was almost rendered useless other than to just get it up into the center and hit these drop targets. You could get up into this little mini orbit here, but there really wasn't much you could do with that right flipper. I was continuously passing to my left flipper just to get some of the ramp shots, to get jackpots, locks, and things like that, and basically feed that upper right flipper for that flipper shot across the way. Again, I love a 3-flipper game, so I love crossing shots. Those are the types of shots that I like. It's very dark, and I think it didn't do a very good justice being under canopy. I mean, they wanted you to hear it, which was really nice. You could hear it. That was important. But I did think that Barrels of Fun really did it right, taking Dune and Winchester and putting them upstairs so that people could really listen to them and quiet. I think this one would have sold a lot better had they done the same thing. Allowed you to really hear that thing, really see it in a beautiful open environment. Like I don't remember really what the cabinet itself looked like because it was so enclosed, and it had like grass on the sides of the displays or around the side of the tent and stuff like that really helped bring the atmosphere in. So this one I wasn't a fan of, and I know some people really dig it. It doesn't have the Arnold license or Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you did see kind of like there was lots of different actors or lots of good movie clips. I don't know. It's something maybe I have to play a little more, but I wasn't digging it. Okay, this is the big one. So this was the big boy for the entire show, Winchester Mystery House. So this one, for whatever reason, man, it came out of nowhere. We all knew it was going to be a Barrels of Fun game that they had announced. I think this was on Tuesday. Carl D'Angelo was going to design it, who is a pro player. Apparently, from what I hear, he was whiteboarding something, and Barrels of Fun and him got together. They collaborated, and this beautiful table come out of absolutely nowhere. Winchester Mystery House, based on the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, a haunted house. So this has kind of a ghost theme and just a quirky, going into different rooms and doing different things that. It's a beautiful table. You you get keys at the top to help you access different rooms. There are rooms that you have stairs that go to nothing. You can actually open a door and fall to your death right outside the building. There's like a seance multi-ball. The lights go out. The color shift in this is so cool. When you access your keys, you hit the button and you see that flash of it, like turns off the LEDs in a waterfall of light towards the top of the table. It is absolutely incredible. The atmosphere is really, really good on this table. It's definitely a showstopper. It's one of the best tables that I've played in a long time. So Barrels of Fun, I think, I'll say it right here and now, I think Barrels of Fun won Pinball Expo this year, no question. Not only because of Winchester, but also because of Dune. Dune was a sleeper hit, and I think too many people are sleeping on that game. I still think Dune is the best game of 2025, even when we talk about King Kong, even when we talk about Harry Potter, even when we talk about Winchester. I still think Dune is the best game of 2025. And I love Portal as well, so we're going to talk about that one as well. Winchester. What else can I say about this? It's an incredible game. It's got cool mechs. This is a 4 flipper game, even though it plays more like a 3, just because it's more crossing shots. Again, I've said it a couple times already. I love me some 3 flipper shots, 3 flipper games. That 4th little flipper is just really to acquire keys, and that's very important to the progression of this game. It's a tough shooting game. I found that my first game I had like 3 million, my second game I had 70 million, and my third game I had 7 million again. And yeah, I was still in a multi-ball, still making a lot of shots, but I wasn't making any points. And so this one's gonna have some nuance to it. You're gonna have to learn the rule set, and that's something that I can't do in 3 games of gameplay at the expo. It's just not gonna happen. So I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and really dig into this game and really figure out the rule set for it. The only note that I did say in my other stream as well or my other video about this, is I questioned whether or not they should have used the Ouija board for the apron for this, due to religious reasons. There's going to be some people that don't want. First of all, they don't want a haunted house in their house, haunted house pinball game in their house, and that's fine. You could choose to do that, but you really can't cover up this apron either, because they do some really cool stuff with the player and the ball locks and what ball you're playing with. They use the lettering on the apron in a really cool way. So maybe it is what it is. It's sold out in 2 days, folks. This thing was announced and it was sold out. They were still taking pre-orders after they sold out just to make sure, but this thing is gonza. There's no way anybody's going to be able to get this table anymore. It showed incredibly well, plays incredibly well. I'm fortunate enough that Ulix in Monroe already said that they purchased one immediately and that they're going to have one in November. So I'm going to have access to this thing. I can't wait to take the tripod down there and really dig into this game the way that I did with Dune not too long ago. So really looking forward to that. Man, I tell you what, this one I did not cover, and I'm not trying. I gotta find the picture for what happened to it. Is Portal. Portal for the P3 was a game that I absolutely fell in love with. It was one that I don't think got enough play, quite frankly. So let's talk about that one. I'm sorry that I didn't have that teed up. Here is Portal for the P3. Now this game, man, oh man, this was one that I was so excited to play. I was actually heartbroken when I found out that P3 Multimorphic wasn't on the vendor list for this event. And come to find out, Wise Trailers was the one that actually had all the P3s. So here I was like, oh my god, there it is. It's Portal. I've been looking forward to playing this game. Obviously, I got to play Princess Bride, which we talked about earlier. But Portal, I love this game. And as I said when we talked about Princess Bride, it is the one table that if I had the money for right now, I would buy Portal and the P3 ecosystem over anything else. You can laugh at me. You could say, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you get a Dune? Why wouldn't you get a Winchester? Why would you get a Harry Potter? Why not a Star Wars? I completely understand all of that. For space limitations, for me being a big-time digital player and having the blend of the two, the blend of the digital gameplay with the physical gameplay for me is really compelling on this one. I think it really works incredibly well. Like I said, the fact that it laser tracks the ball by using a crossing laser infrared to be able to see where the ball is on the playfield, to move that ramp up to let that ball fall down. The extended playfield in the P3, I think they're going to hit their stride. I think this is the game that really propels them to bigger things. And you're going to see a lot more games from P3 that really compete on a big scale. And I think Portal is really that gateway drug. Super excited for this one. The amount of character and the callouts in this is great. They have this, they have this mech, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. This guy here is so cool and personable. He's looking around and he's mocking you, and then he spins around and he's that sentinel, or that the laser, and he's pointing the laser at you and he's trying to kill your ball. And it's just, this game speaks to me. I mean, Portal is an incredible IP, and I don't think anybody can argue that. It's an incredible IP. But the way that they did it, so the P3 system, if you don't already know, has basically 16 balls locked, ready to go. And so the second you shoot a ball into one of those, when those two ramps come up in the back, once a ball hits in one ramp, it zips out the other one at the exact same speed. Those types of things are things that you can't get on another playfield. Sure, they could, but this game really took it to the next level. You also have the spot when you start getting into the portal and you get up to that upper left playfield. Up here, you have to use this little flipper to hit this cube out of the way, and then the cube jumps over to the other side, so you've got that. You have this faith plate right smack dab in the middle. This faith plate, you roll over it, and that ball just kicks up and throws it to the back wall, and then it orbits over to the right. This game just absolutely rocks, and I was absolutely thrilled to play it. It was my personal favorite of the day, my personal favorite of the expo, and that's only because that I had played Dune before. I knew what to expect. I had already taken in that atmosphere of what Dune was, between the music and the sound effects, the aliveness of the table, the vibrations. The P3 absolutely rocks, and if you have not experienced it, or you're sleeping on it, I definitely encourage you to go out of your way, get a chance to go play Portal, go play Princess Bride. And the one that really struck me as amazing is Final Resistance, a Scott Denisi game. I had never played that, and I love Total Nuclear Annihilation. It's one of my favorite games of the last few years. The sound on that game, the flippers the spinner on those games. So the spinner on Final Resistance, I'll do one little take on that. It just rings in your head, and it just, when that mech fires the ball back out at you with the left flipper, I was playing with 3 other people at the event, and they all were like, holy crap, that is cool. Like, I was thinking to myself, if that thing was out of the glass world of the pinball machine and it was firing pinballs at somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, the pinballs are not light. I found that out. I bought some. And I'm like, these suckers are not light. It is chucking those things hard. The P3 rocks. It absolutely rocks. All right, so winners and losers. To me, winners and losers, I think the absolute losers, the big one is American pinball. They didn't really provide anything. We got the Orbit Games Whirlaball. We didn't even talk about that. Why would we? It's not a pinball machine. It wasn't. It really didn't need to be at the show. Um, I think people played it just to try it. It wasn't what we expected. It was a little better than I expected. I thought it would just be more of a skee ball thing. Come to find out, if you were able to get all 7 targets with 9 balls, it'll kick out the 9 balls again, and you just keep going. Apparently, they're going to add some code and change some different things. But American Pinball really didn't do anything. I love Galactic Tank Force. That was there. I was able to play it. But that's old hat at this point. I loved Houdini. I'd never played Houdini. I loved that one. Barrio Barbecue, not great. Didn't like that one. I've never been a big fan of Hot Wheels. Anyway, so American Pinball didn't do all that much. Pinball Brothers, I don't think you did enough with Predator. I think that one could have been a lot better. Maybe not better. If you like Predator, you're going to love the table. I mean, that's the biggest thing is not getting the Arnold Schwarzenegger license, and I know that was pricey. We all know that's about money with that. It's the same reason we haven't had Terminator 2 on the Atgames digital systems. It's just about money, and that's all it really boils down to. Another winner, I think, was Turner Pinball. Turner Pinball, I think, did a fantastic job. Obviously, Ninja Eclipse sold out. They're a small company. They sold 100 games. And people look at that and they're like, oh, it's only 100 games. Yeah, but you know what? There's a tremendous amount of risk in this industry right now. And so these smaller companies that are building games out of nothing, that's a really good sign. They sold out of all the Ninja Eclipse. Merlin's Arcade, I think, is selling really, really well. I'd love to hear their sales numbers on it because it is a really great game. But I'm really encouraged to see what they do with their third IP. Maybe it is a licensed IP. They wouldn't tell me, obviously. So we will see. I think Turner did a great job. We'll see more from them in the future. Jersey Jack. So Jersey Jack, I mean, what can you say? Jersey Jack is Jersey Jack. Jersey Jack is the premium pinball machine that you can buy. It is the most expensive. It is the most engineered. I think they have probably, boy, do I want to say this or not? There are getting some really good designers. Eric Muner did a really fantastic job with Harry Potter. Elton John had Steve Ritchie, who is my favorite designer from all the Black Knight series and all the games that he did. They're really doing a great job. Avatar is fantastic. I don't think the only thing I think people worry about with Jersey Jack is kind of the wear and tear. I did see, after 6 months, Avatar start to have some flipper problems and stuff like that we really haven't seen so far on any of the Barrels of Fun games. So, but Barrels of Fun really only has Labyrinth, and there's not a ton of those out there. So, we'll see. Hopefully, the one thing I will say during this expo, the 3 days that we had it, I never seen a Winchester breakdown. I never seen a Dune breakdown. At one point, they got a ball stuck on Winchester, and they laid down some plastic to protect the rails. They opened that sucker up, got the ball out, reset it, and it was good to go. And mind you, these are getting absolute continuous play for 3 solid days. Dune and Winchester. So that's a lot of plays for brand new machines, but at the same time, quality. I think they did a really fantastic job. What's another winner? To me, I think P3. I think P3 was a winner. They did a lot, quite frankly. I was very, very happy with the gameplay that I seen. I think most people that played it, that went to play Portal, they went to play Princess Bride, they walked away liking this system. They liked it as a system. There wasn't any problems with it. I think the one thing I did see with Final Resistance is the mech didn't want to fire out the locked balls, but it didn't interrupt your gameplay. Like, it was smart enough to realize, you know what, hey, those 3 balls are locked in the mech. I could still make this multi-ball happen. I'm just not going to shoot it out to the left flipper. It still continued on with the mode. It kicked out 3 balls from the upper right, from the upper ramp, and just fed them over to the right flipper so that you could take the shots. So I was really interested to see that even though it knew something was wrong with the table, it didn't stop the gameplay. It didn't lock it up. It didn't do anything. It just said, okay. But luckily Justin was there, Justin Wise. He's like, that should have shot out of the mech. There's something wrong here. So he took the mech out. Within 5 minutes, he was diagnosing, seeing what's going wrong with it. He dropped it back in, and next thing you know, the thing's working just great. So to me, I was like, man, I love that not only if it doesn't work, it's still smart enough to continue gameplay. Um, but the fact that he could take out that entire module, drop in Princess Bride, and that's what it was originally. Most of the time, they're trying to sell Princess Bride. That's the newer game than Final Resistance. Um, but you could swap it out just like that, and in the whole time, he could have dropped back Princess Bride right back in there while we were waiting for him to diagnose and fix Final Resistance. So to me, I'm like, man, if you want to if I was want to get a pinball machine, this is seriously what I'm thinking. I would want a P3 to be able to do that. Um, what's another loser? I would say Questal Gaming. Questal Gaming with their pinball machines, they had two there, Super Hoop and Tokyo Perfect Drift. I didn't see a salesperson there anywhere. I don't. I wasn't able to talk to anybody. I couldn't ask any questions. They were just sitting there with a price tag on them, like they were for sale. Um, I don't know. It was really strange to me. And then the elephant in the room had to be Stern. Stern's gonna win. They win. They have a wonderful catalog of games. They had quite a few really big hitters this year. You had King Kong, which is fantastic. You had the Star Wars game. I mean, they've always had uh, great and compelling games. You had Dungeons and Dragons, which was a big hit. I'm not a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, which is weird. Again, that's another one, the three flipper game. Like, I don't understand why I don't like that game. It's a little more tactical, and it's a Brian Eddy table, which I love Brian Eddy games generally. So, yeah, there was some stuff there. But I found myself really loving John Borg's Star Wars. It's a fast and flowing game with incredible shots. Yes, it's a simplistic fan layout, but man, it is probably one of the most accessible games of all of these, with the exceptions of maybe Merlin's Arcade. Between the two of those, I think those are probably the most family-friendly games you could buy and put in your home and really have a ton of fun for a long, long time. So, anyway, guys, that was my take on the games of the Pinball Expo for 2025. I know this was another long video. I don't generally do a lot of long videos in the discussion format, but here we are. We had to talk about it. Really excited to see what comes next from Turner. Excited to see what comes out next from P3. I'm very excited with P3, what's coming out. And I guess one of the biggest things that I was disappointed with the Pinball Expo is, where is the digital pinball representation? Man, that to me is really disappointing. Atgames was not there. I know they've had a lot of issues with firmware and things like that. So if you're not interested in digital gaming, this next section you probably will not care about, and you'd like second class citizen, all that. I think digital pinball is the gateway drug to buying a physical medium. And so I think you need to, the digital players in this field, you have the Zaccaria Pinball on Steam, you have Pinball FX for Zen Studios, you have the Atgames ecosystem. I think that those three, and really, you could talk a little bit about the X Arcade too. The X Arcade working with Pinball FX, they were there with the headsets, with the MetaQuest headsets, talking about VR. I would love to see more digital pinball representation across this medium. I think they could have, first of all, Atgames has already leaked the fact that they're coming out with a 1080p cabinet, which is going to be about $1,000 at Sam's Club starting on Black Friday. That, had that been there, they could have sold a crap ton of those things. And 2 weeks before release at Sam's Club, and showed off to the world, showed Ninja Turtles as an IP, as a cabinet. It's a beautiful cabinet, mind you. Here, I'll just show the picture of it real quick. This is the cabinet. This is for the Black Friday deal, and this thing, it's selling for $1,200. You could have got it for $1,000. They could have sold it at the show. They could have listed. They could have had a one little display with 5 of these things playing Ninja Turtles. You could win it, or you could buy it, and you'd have it 2 weeks early before release. This could have been a huge boon for Atgames, a huge moment of hype. They could have done so much with it, and it's just so disappointing to not have that be represented. The only digital playfields that I seen in the entire place was through the pinball cabinet. Had one. I've showed his business card a couple times. He had custom-made digital pinball machines, which were really awesome. I seen one in the back that had like a display in the playfield, which was again very incredible. That one I didn't like quite as much. And then I had seen two of the Atgames systems that were at the AVS distributors. They were just a game seller, selling different arcade systems, and they had a couple of Atgames sitting there. They did have the Turtle game, which they probably shouldn't have, but I was able to see it and play it. But they were so small. They're 3/4 size pinball machines. They're stacked up against. I mean, they were right next to King Kong and Venom and, let's see, who was else? Iron Maiden. Those game systems sitting next to those $9,000 machines just isn't fair. I think they deserve to have their own space. Micros, if Atgame had taken the micros and put them there, you think these wouldn't have sold for $325 a piece? They could have sold 50 of them things. I don't get it. Atgames continues to make a lot of poor choices. But Zen Pinball, I think, should have been there. I believe they're a Hungarian company. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. But and then you have Zaccaria Pinball, and maybe they're the Hungarian ones. Anyway, they have incredible titles too. I mean, you could sell those games on Steam and show them off and give people an access to them through OTG or however you wanted. You could show them off in a lot of really cool ways and get people involved. Especially Saturday, there was a lot of kids there. First, kids are not as tall as adults. I don't know if anybody else knows that. So when they step up to a pinball machine, a lot of times they lose interest because they can't see the playfield. And they could walk up to an Atgames system or this micro right here, and they could play pinball and enjoy it. And you talk about fostering the future of pinball and the art and the music and the beauty and the passion for this game. That is the way to do it. And I thought it was a really missed opportunity. So really disappointed in that. But at any rate, the Pinball Expo is done and over with. This is the last I'll speak of it. But man, I had a great time. I'm definitely going to be going back to all future events. Whether I'll probably go on a Thursday, spend Thursday night, and spend the day Friday, and go back and just have my weekend to play pinball locally. But I tell you what, it was a fantastic event. I think the winners and losers this year presented themselves pretty quickly, and it was a fantastic event. Man, I'm talked out. So I appreciate everybody who stuck it out to the end, and hopefully if you agree with my takes, let me know in the comments. If you completely think I'm an idiot, I'd love to hear that too. Harry Potter's the greatest game of all time, and the P3 is a piece of junk. Let me know. Digital pinball's crap. Tell me that too. I want to hear all your comments. Thank you to all who have subscribed recently. I think I've gotten 50 subscribers in the last 2-3 weeks. It's just been fantastic. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, you only need one ball for greatness. Keep plunging, and we will see you next time. Retro Tech.